I saw dead people for 4 years. If you are thinking about working in the funeral industry, I am telling you this with every being in my body. Would you believe me if I said it's raining outside and I'm drinking an iced chai? It's like when it's raining and like that's the one time you really want ice cream. Those are the vibes. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time now. So it's the perfect vibes. It's gray and gloomy. Insert the clip from Hocus Pocus. The glorious morning. Makes me sick. That being said, if you're new here, I'm Angel. Welcome to my channel. Yeah, I share a lot of my life with you guys. Consider them my video diaries where I'm somewhat girly, somewhat spooky. If you like that sort of thing, subscribe. In today's video, you guessed it by the title, I'm gonna share 4 years of my life with you that were arguably the coolest thing about me. Actually, not arguably, it literally was the coolest thing about me. I loved sharing this with people. If I went anywhere and people were like casually like, what do you do for work? I see dead people. I literally love that. It sounds so weird, sounds so morbid, and if you like that sort of thing, you're in the right place. I don't know, there's just so much to say, and I'm gonna break it down for you. This video is for anybody that is thinking about going into the funeral industry, that is thinking about working at a funeral home, something in that field. I'm gonna tell you my journey and how I found that job. Stay tuned to the end of this video because I am gonna tell you all of my deep and personal thoughts on working in this industry and how it will affect you. Sips chai tea. Let's get into the video. I saw dead people for 4 years and I chose that. When I first started out, before I even sent in that application, I went to YouTube and I typed in like working for a funeral home, funeral working, women in funeral. I will tell you, nothing came up. Working as a mortician, that was all I found then. That is all I find now. What it's like working with dead bodies. People are very intrigued by this work and no one is talking about it. So I want to talk about it. In 2020, I, like the rest of the world, was not working. I was really eager to get back into like a workplace environment. It became me wondering what jobs were actually hiring at that time. It is important to know I personally have lost loved ones and I know what it feels like to lose a loved one. But in 2020, when I'm looking for a job, I had just recently lost my abuelita, so my dad's mom, and my tia, so my dad's sister. Two people incredibly close to the family, incredibly close to my dad, passed away within a few months of each other, and that stuck with me. But even at that point, death was not something new to me. I had already lost my grandpa, who was so incredibly close to me. I lost him when I was going into high school. So really life-altering time for me. My Nana's side of the family has lost a lot of loved ones. By the age of like 20, I had already been to a lot of funerals in my life. My point to all that is that death was not new to me. I was just more open to talking about it than most. And that's okay. So in 2020, when I was looking for work, we were actually at the cemetery visiting the graves of my abuelita and my tia. While I was at the cemetery, I remembered the service that I had for my abuelita, for my tia. I remember that someone had to guide us through that service. I just thought they were really sweet. They really stuck with me. So on that day, I thought, you know what? Someone has to work in that building and someone has to work with families who are grieving. And I think I can do that. And so that same day I went home, I looked up that location. I filled out an application for a position called service director. And at the time, truly, I did not know what that meant. I just thought, I don't need any special qualifications. I'm just gonna do it. And who knows? So it wasn't really that I thought I was going to get it. I just figured I would probably be comfortable working in a funeral home. I get an interview, I go in, I feel like my interview goes really well. They ask me questions like, what do you think would be the hardest part for this job for you? And I said, you know what? I'm actually not afraid of this entire workplace. I think you have to have a good heart to work in a place like this, and I truly think that I could offer that to families that are grieving because I've literally experienced it myself. And that must have worked because I get a call back with them offering me a position, and at that point I literally was like, well, I can't say no. So I figured I'd do the first orientation day and see how it goes. And to be honest, when I went in that first day, they gave me a full tour of the entire place, and yes, that means including where they keep all the decedents, and it didn't scare me, but like I was very interested to know the stories. One might call it nosy, I just call it curious. I was very curious. I wanted to know more. And so that's the brief synopsis on how I went looking for this job. And I got it. And I did not know how changed my life would be forever. So what is being a service director? So being a service director is exactly what it sounds like. You are with the family on the day of the service. And I loved this job. It sounds insane. Obviously, it ties back to the real reason I went looking for this job, and that's because I know firsthand what it is like to lose somebody. And so making sure that that service goes right for a family meant everything to me. I'm also a Virgo, so things kind of had to go right and go my way, or I sort of lose it. Anyway, so it was very important to me that the service went well. You are with the family on the day of the service. That means from the moment you check in that decedent, the moment you have that paperwork. For example, Walt Disney, this is his legal next of kin, this is his wife, these are his kids, this is the person you'll be talking to the next 2 days. I'm giving you a typical service. So you're going to be with that family. You are going to talk directly with Lillian, is that his wife's name? Yeah, talk directly with Walt's wife. You're gonna get him all set up for his viewing tonight. Set up the chapel, set up his flowers. Which, by the way, side note, normalize getting men flowers before their funeral, okay? Let me know in the comments what you think about that. You're gonna set up the chapel for Mr. Disney. His family will be here at this time. They'll be here for a 4-hour viewing. Pretty much gonna instruct them on what's gonna happen the next day. But there were so many services where you really get to know a family in the toughest time of their life. For 4 hours, you are with the family, watching them grieve this loved one. Sometimes it's a celebration of life, literally, and people are like, she was 99 and she lived, and here's her story and pictures, and wow, inspiring. Or they were really young, this shouldn't have happened. You hear and see a lot on those services. A typical service for me, you'd be with the family for a viewing that night. You would take the decedent to a service, to their church service, to their parish, to wherever, and then a committal to wherever their final resting place is. And that's a typical service. Like I said, everything can be different. Every circumstance, every service is different. Most of those services, I can't say they're strenuous in a kind of way. They were obviously emotionally draining. Every single one. When I met a family and I took them under my wing, they were my own. My motto in doing that job was literally, if you're going to do this, how would this look in front of your own family? And that is my piece of advice to anyone doing any job, really. Even carrying flowers, how would that look in front of your own family? If you're going to stand up and make an announcement, family, at this time we're going to be doing this, this, and that, carry yourself well, because it matters. I grew up with my mother always telling me, how you represent yourself is how you represent your family. Take that with you if you need it. How you represent yourself is how you represent that company, that funeral home, that business, that whatever. I gave it everything. Nothing felt better to me than finishing a service where a family is so pleased with how everything turned out. Everything was perfect in my eyes. Everything happened accordingly. I will say I was never on time, but in a good way. I would sprinkle in extra time. And that was just me, but that's because I cared. That is because I knew that was very much going to be the last time they ever saw their loved one in this physical form. And that is so important, to take those very serious, very real life things with you, because it's not a joke. This is literally someone's loved one. You'd be surprised to know, if I needed to be licensed in some way or have a degree in something. High school graduate, girly, that is it. Service director, it's not a funeral director because you actually need a license to be a funeral director. I was not licensed like that. I was not an embalmer. People's biggest mistake is assuming you work at a funeral home. Oh, you're a mortician? No. You'd be very surprised to hear that I did not care. To touch and maneuver the body, I did because I had to. I wasn't there to play with them. Honestly, some people are really good at that, and that is their passion in life. Praise them. Yeah, that's the part of the job I could not do. Takes a good-hearted person to also be able to maneuver a decedent like that. I could not. Oh, sometimes you have to put earrings, oh, here's their personal effects, their jewelry, things that the family wants on them. No thank you. I hated putting earrings in their ear. Anyways, I was also very proud to learn that this industry is heavily dominated by women. And I don't think people know that. I need you to stop and think for a second. Close your eyes. And what is your stereotypical idea of a funeral worker? A hearse pulls up, and who's getting out of the hearse? I don't know about you, but There's a very Hollywood idea of a funeral service person, very specific. And so families were very shocked when your girl was hopping out of the car and they were like, who's in charge? And I was like, only once did I ever have a family like question that I was a woman. All the more reason to show them, I'm gonna make sure everything goes right for you. You have nothing to worry about. Your job is to be present with your family. My job is to make sure that everything happens accordingly. In doing that in a very empathetic way, women just do that incredibly well. In the building I worked at, out of like 50 something associates, over 30 of them were women. And a majority of those men worked out in like the groundsmen that took care of the cemetery and did like the actual burials. I think that's pretty cool. And I think more people should know that. I was mostly looking for a young woman's perspective on the industry. Not a lot showed up. So when I got there and I was very surprised to see that most of them were women, I was like, why is nobody talking about this? Because it's really badass. Sorry, Mom. Like, I took so much pride in doing that line of work. It was a really hard job that I was really proud to say that I did. And I miss it. And I left for my own reasons. Ultimately, by the end of my almost 5 years working in this industry at this specific location, I wasn't working the services anymore. And so I just didn't feel that same sense of like passion and fulfillment every day as I was when I was working that job. Circling back to the hearse, I loved driving the hearse. I literally got up and found these for this bit. Nothing was cooler than like throwing on shades and being in like a clean black outfit and like just watching and making sure that this service went beautifully. Like are you kidding me? And I loved it. It was pretty much my identity for 4 years, and I always loved like spooky paranormal, but like literally, this is a mug. This is a mug I found during Halloween. This is what I should be drinking my chai in. I bought 2 of these just so that I have them, but like, Grim Reaper? I somehow found a way to make funeral like aesthetic to be my own girly funeral aesthetic. And I loved it. At one point, I think I tried to count early on when I was working there. And at that point, it was like 300 services. So I have seen a lot of funerals. And I've seen a lot of families, a lot of family dynamics. A nice way of putting like family drama. If I learned anything in the funeral industry is that weddings and funerals will bring out the crazy in families. I think we know that. Also, death makes people weird. Okay. You also just need to have like a sense of patience. A lot of like stories from these services that I've done, things that shook me to my core, and I want to share those with you, keeping the family's privacy, of course, because it quite literally is one of my favorite topics. I've always said that I wish people experienced that line of work in their life at least once. Like, maybe you'd have a little more compassion, a little more empathy towards the world and people, because you literally never know what someone else is going through. That job, every day you walk in, you walk out a different person, and that is just a fact. So I don't just really want to end the video there. I asked ChatGPT like what are some like common questions to answer some questions for you guys about like this line of work. How much money does a position like this pay? So at the funeral home, I was making minimum wage, which in California like $16-17. I started off making like roughly that. And then obviously with their little raises here and there, by the time I left I was making a little bit different, but it's just about minimum wage. Can you tell me something weird or funny that happened on the job? Being a spooky gal, I'm gonna make a whole separate video on spooky stories because I have really good ones I've been holding on to and collecting. Anytime somebody asks me about something weird that happened, like I said, death makes people weird. And I always remember this one service. The family comes in, they're really sad about the son, a brother. He wasn't like an older man, he was younger. And so the brother of this person came in, was super intrigued by like everything, talking to me, talking to the other person. And then he would go out to the parking lot. And then he would come back in, and then he would go out to the parking lot. Every time he came back and was like talking, he was like progressively more. And I was like, okay, I think I see what's going on here. I can't directly accuse you of in the parking lot, but death makes people weird and we're almost out of here, so I'm gonna leave it alone. So I knew the next day I was gonna have to like keep my eye on him to make sure he was good. We were going to church and back, so I was like, hopefully he's on his best behavior. We're not on my territory, so nothing I can do. I'm not a bouncer. I can't kick anybody out. And so we finally get to like the burial where we're at the cemetery, and like they have this lowering device on the spot that helps the casket be lowered into the ground. And so casket's lowered, and this brother, who at that point must have been, comes out with a skateboard and is like, this is for my brother, and like puts his skateboard on the lowering device and is like about to jump. In my time there, I've never seen anyone try to jump into a grave, to be honest. Yes, I secretly always kind of wanted to experience it because that's just like the stereotypical funeral people imagine, is like someone wanted to jump into the grave. I never saw anybody want to jump, but this guy wanted to do like a skateboard trick for his brother on the lowering device. Like, I just remember like kind of going to reach, but I was too far. Luckily, a couple of like the cousins and uncles like pulled him back, and I was like, what would I have done? What would I have done? Nothing. Literally nothing. Like, that's you. So please don't try to do a skateboard trick in honor of anybody at the funeral, okay? Unless it is pre-noted in the service notes. Moving on. Have you ever had to deal with a body that was in a really bad condition or unusual? Actually, yes. 2 services come to mind. One, I had a service once of a mother and daughter who passed away. As far as timeline, passed away close together. And so I think the first one was said, and in the next one they were like, oh, she's gonna pass as well. So they kind of saved them to do the services together. That's only the backstory because there were 2 caskets, and so I'm explaining to you why there's 2 caskets. Anyways, 2 casket service. Those bodies, forgive me, smelled so bad. Probably the worst I've ever smelled. And there's like such a distinct like, oh, like when people say like, oh, you know, the smell of a dead body, like, I know what that smell is. The other story I had, there was a service that ended up having injury to the face, and I think pieces of this person's nose was like kind of gone. There was an embalmer there at the time that was really good with like paper mache. Someone that didn't really have like the tip of his nose, like they were able to completely reconstruct like this part of his face. And I thought that was really cool. It's literally an art form, what some of these people can do. And I saw it firsthand. Have you ever messed up or made a mistake with a funeral? I'm a Virgo, like I said earlier. It was very important to me that everything went right. In that job, it is very crucial that you do not make mistakes because you only get one chance. It is literally a person, and their life is being memorialized, and like you cannot mess that up. I think a lot of the things people like mess up is like forgetting things. You leave the funeral home to go on like sometimes a long drive to like a service. You forget things. I know people like forgot flower arrangements. Not always, it's not like common, but like that's probably the biggest thing people forget. You pack up, you leave, get there, and the family's like, there's a specific arrangement that I ordered, and it's sitting back at the funeral home. Yeah, you don't want to forget an American flag for a military honor services, which, oh, the services are beautiful. The playing of taps gets me every time. Floodgates. Next question. Do you ever get emotionally attached to the people you work with? I remember going to my manager at the time, like after one of like my first couple services, and was like, so this is gonna be hard. For me, it was like I wanted that next step. Like I would become so close to a family. I wanted to know what more I could do for them. Then came my passion with grief and counseling and all of that. Like I want to still go on those endeavors in life. What more can I do to help people that are grieving? So I realized that's just the next part of my journey. I was always getting so attached to families because I don't know, they just meant a lot to me. Knowing that I did something really life-changing for them, they were really important to me. So much so that heaven forbid that they had to come back for like another service. A lot of them requested me, so I would work with a family more than once. So yeah, to a fault, I was very emotionally attached, but you do have to have that sort of like emotional disconnect. Working a job like this, do you believe in life after death? The short answer, yes. The long answer, like for part 2, this is the bigger reason as to why I want to make a part 2 to this, because I want to share all the profound stories. This job really solidified that like we're all destined to meet the same fate, and that sounds so scary. My sister loves to say, let us live since we must die, and that is very true for all of us. A lot of the signs I've seen families receive from their loved ones that I've witnessed with my own eyes, I do believe that our loved ones are still watching over us. I do believe that it doesn't just end. Maybe that's why it doesn't scare me as much, but I believe there is so much more. I think that's where my life really comes together. I had always been intrigued with like the spooky and paranormal, and then I was faced with like death, and I saw it every day for 4 years, and I was open and receptive to the things that I saw. And so yes, I very much believe in life after death, and I've been intrigued and chasing that ever since, and I want to share that with you guys. So in conclusion to everything we've talked about today, if you are thinking about working in the funeral industry, I am telling you this with every being in my body. Do it. If you hate it, you walk away. If there's something you can't handle, you walk away. I've often said in that job, and I said it earlier in the video, that everyone should try working this job at least once in their life. And that is because you will walk away every day with a new sense of appreciation for life, for your loved ones. You will go home and tell people that you love them more. And if you don't already go home and do that, I am telling you firsthand, tomorrow is not promised. And this is gonna get really sappy really fast. But this job is not for the faint of heart. Every single service I worked, somebody in that family came up to me and said, thank you so much. I don't know how you do this job. I couldn't do it. And that was the greatest thanks that I could ever walk away with from those families. That told me I am doing a job that not many people can do, and I made myself proud every single day. I loved what I did at that job. I saw a lot of dead people, but the message and the story that they all had were the same. And that was, what story will you have to tell at the end of your life? What pictures will they put up on the slideshow? What will your family go up there and say about you? All that matters is the legacy you leave behind after you're gone. And so this is mine. These videos I make are for you guys. I very much love and appreciate you if you've made it this far in the video, but I hope this helped somebody out there. And let me know how it goes. DM me, follow me at Talk Spooky to Me, and if you work for a funeral home, if you have a question about the industry, let me know. Subscribe for more, because I have more videos on this specific topic and more paranormal investigations coming out. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all your support. I will see you in the next video.